What's up? Welcome to another episode of All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. I'm your host, Kiff VH. Welcome to it. I'm so excited to be able to share a conversation with my new friend Terry Notary. Terry, we met it feels like a week ago, but a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Well, I could sit here and summarize your story, but that's in the notes. So truly, that workshop that we did was one of the most transformative workshops I've experienced as a performer.
Aw, thanks, man. That's awesome.
It was amazing to I really have been able to take the work that we did, bring it to auditions already, and I just booked a co-star.
Amazing.
Applying that stuff that we did
cool.
at work.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
I'm really grateful for you and
That's so cool.
for all your stuff. And I've been a fan of your work, in particular the square.
Oh, cool.
But blah blah blah. I'm more interested in talking with you now about where are you from originally?
I'm from the Bay Area, from Marin County. I grew up there and moved to LA when I went to UCLA. I was a theater major at UCLA. And then we moved to Vegas when I joined the Cirque.
What sent you down the road of chasing theater work? Were you always into it when you were a kid? Or?
I was going to be a doctor when I went to UCLA. I was going to be a kinesiologist.
Really?
Yeah. I was taking chemistry and calculus and getting ready for all that stuff my freshman year. And then I wanted to lighten my workload because I was on the gymnastics team.
Were you on a gymnastics scholarship or something like that?
Yeah, I was. Yep. And so I took a voice class.
No kidding.
Yeah, I took a voice class, and I loved it. It was amazing. And I did my final exam was 10 minutes. You have to explain who you are, your life, in 10 minutes. And it was a sort of a loose improv with structure kind of that I had in my head, And at the end of it, the teacher was like, "Wow, that was really impressive. I was moved by that." I kind of let myself go in it. I was like, I told my story,
Yeah.
And she said, "How long have you been a theater major?" And I said, I'm not a theater major." She said, "Do you want to be a theater major?" I said, "I would love to." And she said, "Okay, you're a theater major." She was married to the dean.
Oh my gosh!
So it was kind of an awesome thing. The next day I was a theater major. I didn't have to audition or anything. I had my audition right there.
That's amazing.
So yeah.
Was your family when you had that sort of trajectory? I mean, I don't want to project my own because my parents were against me chasing this work.
Oh really?
But were there challenges that you faced in that transition? Or it was kind of okay,
Not
great.
Not at all. My parents were happy.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're all musicians and artists, and they're always supportive of whatever I wanted to do, and they were actually really happy when I told them I wanted to be a theater major. Yeah,
that's so
they're
great.
Like, "Oh, that suits you so much better, Terry." I don't want to see you in a hospital every day. So it was they're pretty hipped out.
Wow,
yeah, it's cool. So yeah, that kind of I went and did Cirque Du Soleil for 5 years, and then got into the film industry through being in Cirque with Ron Howard. Wanted some Cirque Du Soleil people to be in How the Grinch Stole Christmas and develop Whoville, and that was my first introduction to film.
What was the nature of that of just to I've never really spoken to someone who's gone through the process of Cirque Du Soleil. What got you from UCLA theater major to that 5-year experience? What was that process?
Right before I was going to graduate, Cirque called and said, "We heard you're done with gymnastics, and do you want to come on audition for us?" And I was like, "Cirque du Soleil, I've heard of that. It was way back in the day."
Yeah.
And I called my parents and I said, "Hey, have you guys heard of Cirque du Soleil?" "Yes, oh my God, go." So I went to the audition. It was a 2-day audition. Crazy, everything. They, flexibility, strength, acrobatic skills, theater skills, and all that stuff. Anyways, got into Cirque. We moved to Montreal for a year to train, and it changed my life. I learned more in 1 year in that school of theater than I learned in 5 years at UCLA.
What was it about the Cirque training that was so transformative for you?
It was all about, it was Franco Dragon, first of all, who's the director, and he was just amazing. He taught us, okay, just for example, the first day we're there, he said, okay, everyone take your clothes off, strip down. You can leave your underwear on if you want to. And so we did. And so we all had to pair off and cradle each other like babies, hold each other, and just
Oh my God.
nurture and caress and love each other in our underwear. And it was like, I was like, okay, we're in this. This is stripping it down raw.
Yeah.
And really going for it, And I had this big giant, like, muscular Russian guy who smelled like steak and wine caressing me, And I was just like, I'm going for this. I'm going to dive in, And I took all my technique and regimented gymnastics, focus and intention and all that stuff. And it's very militaristic, that kind of world, You're very like, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
And I had to undo all that sort of tension and structure in my head, about not messing up.
Yeah.
Because it's so much about being judged when you're doing gymnastics, not messing up. And so I had to, what Cirque did is it flipped my entire perspective on how I see art and how I became a performer, how I learned how to become an artist, was undoing my fear of failure and being judged and being graded. But Cirque taught me how to perform for applause and to please the people that were watching by giving them something to vicariously live through that was raw and open and vulnerable like a child. And Franco Dragon, he always said to us, he said, I want you to be like children again. I want you to forget everything you know. Becoming an adult is not a good thing. Being like a child is a good thing. You keep your creative expression and your connectivity to the source and your vulnerability and your emotional sensitivity is all there, and it's honest and real. And that's what I've taken from Cirque and learned to become a performer myself and to actually do these workshops that we're doing. So
how do you bring that vulnerability to Whoville, to that experience, to bringing that to a different sort of, certainly a different performance style, and the essence of when the cameras are rolling is still that, the lights are on, but what's that experience like, or what have you?
One of the things that I've really learned from Cirque is that making mistakes and trying to just playing, allowing yourself to play. We had a class every morning called Jeu. It was play, and we would just dress up and play and just start dancing around and doing this crazy games. And in the games, things would come up. You become this character, and all of a sudden you're doing this thing, and he would notice it and go, more, and because keep going. And what he was doing was, when he saw you fall into something where you forgot about yourself and you allowed yourself to sort of ride the wave and drop in, he would encourage you to allow it to continue to happen, allow that wave of expression to continue until it extinguished itself, till it crashed on the beach and you rode in. And then you would know that it would end. And it was like, boom. And then the wave would come back up. And you just allow the next moment to happen without trying to force it to happen, without making it happen, And so, I tried to apply that in Whoville. It was my first film. But, what happened was I was developing, I was trying to figure out how to move like a who, what these characters were. And I figured it out. I figured out what it was kind of. It was kind of like this synergy, like they were connected to. They were all connected. It was this sort of pulsing rhythmic, like wave of way to move, where they were sort of S-curving everything, and a lot of the extras came in. They were all circus people, and they were like moving around and doing their own thing. And I was like, hey guys, let's all come up with a common denominator so that we all know what the foundation of who's are. And then we can all become our own character in that. You can find your own person in that. But we need to look like we're from the same gene pool.
Yeah.
And I started teaching the extras, not knowing that it wasn't my job to do that, because I've come from Cirque and that's what we do. We help everybody and we just jam.
Yeah.
But Ron Howard saw it and called me into his office, and people thought I was in trouble. They're like, "Oh my God, Terry, you're teaching people." I'm like, "Oh God."
Extras.
And he said,
"Background. What do you think you're doing? Talk
said,
to principals. You're not here to teach them. Central Casting does that."
Yeah. And he said, "I liked what you were doing. I'm going to give you a whole sound stage, and we're going to come up with a Who school. We're going to make Who school." And so
wow.
I got to thank him a few years back for my career. It's like, great. I'm glad it worked out for you, man. That's awesome. So yeah. But anyways, it's one of those things where Cirque has really been a great foundation for the work that I do with actors, and applying that foundation of creating a neutral body, starting not from an idea of what you think it is, but starting from a blank slate, and then allowing the character to create itself from the inside out rather than from the outside in. So, yeah.
How did you specialize in ape work? Because I know you did a lot of stuff in the Planet of the Apes films, and I mentioned the Square earlier too, where you do an ape performance.
Yeah.
What led you into animal study? Is it the work led you into that place?
It did. Yeah, the work did. After Whoville, Who School, the producers from Planet of the Apes called me and said, "Hey, Terry, can you do Ape School? We heard you did a great job on Who School." I said, "Okay, absolutely." So I started pouring myself into simian behavior and movement and all that stuff and seeing what they did. And I was trying to emulate them at first, and it wasn't working. Nothing was working. Nothing. It was just, it felt forced. It felt superficial. It didn't feel real. And then I really started studying them and going, what is it about them? I started picturing them as human beings in ape suits. And I was like, wow, they're not really doing much at all, but they're really open. And they're really they're like children. They're like vulnerable kids that look, when you look at a baby looks at you, it's almost scary. They look into your soul,
Yeah.
And it was the same with apes. I got to play with two apes, Jacob and Jonah, these two chimpanzee twins. And they were 4 years old, and they were just hitting that adolescent stage where they were getting a little naughty, and starting to become a little bit dangerous, so which was good because you could have that, have that like animal in there too, but this baby behind the eyes, but there was this trigger that they could switch,
Yeah.
So anyways, I really bonded with them, and I got to spend 3 months with them. So I really learned a lot about apes and humans, and it was like, what does it mean to be human? And what I found was what makes us human is the idea of who we are. It's all in our head. It's this persona that we put on, this identity that we sort of have to put on like a suit that makes us function through culture, and what makes us cultured and socially conditioned. It's how much do we want to fit in, and how honest are we really, and when you take all the shit away, we're really just apes. We're really apes. We're animals, right?
Yeah.
And we call ourselves humans, and we're different, and but we're not very different at all. We're very primal, but we just culturally, we regulate our primal instincts, and we put stipulations on what we can do. So I found that if you strip away all the shit of who you think you are, that social, that self, that identity, what makes us separate from other things, then you really can sort of get back to the basic self of who you are. And that's the vulnerable, open, sensitive vessel of communication, the energy emitter and receiver that you are. And then you become invisible. Like apes aren't thinking about what they look like. They just beautiful because they're looking out and they're in the moment so fully and completely, that was like they were the best actors I've ever watched. You know, and it was just losing themselves in moments, and it was like that's it. That's what we have to do. We have to get to that point as actors, in order to play these apes. We have to become deeper, more connected human beings, not apes. Stop playing an ape. That's not going to do us any good. It's about not playing anything. It's about being deep, connected, rooted, vulnerable, sensitive, and still being freaking tough as shit. Because all that makes you stronger. It doesn't make you wimpy and soft. It makes you stronger. The foundation goes deep, and the root goes deep, and the power is like you find this sort of internal power is, rather than this extrinsic power, you have an intrinsic power. Like they're soft in the way they touch you, but they're so powerful in the depth of their, like when they hug you, when an ape hugs you, it's like a boa constrictor. You feel this like this internal power. It's like scary, you know, how powerful they are. They're 40 pounds of just pure muscle. But they're soft when they hold you, but then they just like it's a really interesting thing that they have. It's amazing. So it's that soft extrinsic body does not make you weak and or wimpy or you know. It increases the depth of your foundation. I mean, so I found we do a lot of work on undoing what makes us human first. That's the thing. And all this stuff, the habits that come along, because it's all built on fear. It's all built on what we're afraid of failure, and we're afraid of being not liked, we're afraid of being, you know, not being, you know, being judged, whatever it is. When you sort of undo the fears, the blocks, the all the extrinsic tensions that are really bad for actors. First of all, probably the worst thing is the tension, because it blocks all the ability to receive energy, right, and to listen. Because acting is about listening. It's not about
saying words.
It's about listening and responding, right?
Right.
And so when you take all that stuff away, you understand what your fears are, and you realize, I'm not going to allow this. When actors have fear, the worst thing they can do is try to pretend that they don't have fear. Try to fight it and try to push it away, because all you're doing is you're giving it momentum, you're giving it power, and it becomes bigger than you, and it will win. It's going to win. The dam will break eventually. So rather than doing that, you embrace the fear, and you just you turn it into energy, and the next thing you know, you're fueled with this limitless source of energy that you're like, oh my God, that fear wasn't even real. It was a manifestation in your mind of what you were afraid of potentially happening.
Of being hit, of whatever those things are.
Not accepted, And I find when you're a 5-year-old kid looking out in the ocean and just this beautiful posture, and you're connected to this, you know, amazing source of energy and creativity, and then as soon as we start being told, get to work, stop daydreaming, try harder, we're rewarded for attention and effort. And so we hunker over our pencil on our page and look up with a grimace on our face. Good, Johnny, you're working hard. Good job. And this one over here daydreaming out the window in the clouds is going to get punished. Well, that's where we want to get back to. We want to get back to the daydreaming in the clouds and being creative and being open and because that's where you're being wide, and not narrow. So it's not about acting, it's about life, really. It's about life. It's about getting to know yourself better as a person, so that they can in turn not bring the habits that they have and play the same character in a different costume each time they act. But you can actually start from a neutral blank slate and create something totally unique and apply the things that are pertinent to the character, like front body, back body, mid body driven, tension, extrinsic body. Sometimes there are characters that are just hard shell extrinsic bodied characters, but you understand what that is. And so or their back body with a soft belly, or they're gut driven, or they're heart driven, or they're head driven. What drives them, and where does their intention lie? Are they point to point focus? Are they wide? Do they sweep through the space? Do they wash through the space? Do they have a soft footprint, crushing footprint? When they walk, do they own the step when they walk? Do they have a deep foundation, a soft foundation, or no foundation? When they're there, and you can play all those things if you know what they are, and you can have them as tools, basically, as an actor. You have a toolkit, and you can. Through observation too, you can find more tools just from observing people in the world, and you can sort of see their blueprint, and what their blueprint. Everyone has their blueprint, and you kind of, when you know what your blueprint is, then you have a foundation of okay, I know what I'm bringing to the table, and I know what I need to undo in order to figure what this character is. And so it's really fun.
So great. So great. And just fueling it from an emotional place and from that identifying that neutral space of self, so that you can deconstruct your own movement pattern and express and explore and react. Oh, it's so great. I love talking this stuff. It's so terrific. And part of the reason why we're here talking actually today is because we're putting together a workshop that we are teaching together next week, Sunday, the March 10th. Yes?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
It is.
I'm really stoked. I'm really excited about it.
Excited.
Yeah.
And
space is available still, so we just made the announcement. So
So if you're interested in participating, please come join us. I know the thrust of this show has been about voiceover, but to me, I think it's so important to explore your total instrument and how the work that we do here informs your voice work, it informs your on-camera work, it informs, as you were saying, it completely informs your life. And that's really why art in the first place,
I mean, voice work is all emotionally connected. It's all the same. Everything is. There's no difference really at all between motion capture, regular straight up acting, voice acting. It's all the same. So if you're interested, we're in Sherman Oaks at our studio here it's called the Industry Dance Academy. And you can email me at terrynotaryworkshops@gmail.com if you want to sign up.
Please come join us. It'll be fun. And if not, if it goes well, I hope we can do it again. And we'll see how things go.
Awesome.
Thanks for checking in for this brief thing. Terry, thank you so much for sharing all that. Are you on social media and stuff if people wanted to follow you?
At Terry Notary. Yeah.
At Terry Notary in all spaces. Instagram, all that other jazz.
Yeah.
Awesome. Be back with more stuff in the future. Thanks for tuning in. Peace. This has been All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please go to iTunes and give us a positive rating. It truly helps. Follow me on Twitter at KiffVH, or on Instagram at KiffVH, or on Vero at KiffVH. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you soon. Claim victory and depart the field.
Werewolf?
Yeah,